Tonight, the financial world still on edge. Insurance giant AIG teeters on the brink as Wall Street and Washington scramble to save it. I'm Harry Smith. Also tonight, Ike up close. An entire neighborhood gone and lives changed forever.
How bad is it? It's catastrophic.
Millions could lose their homes in the mortgage mess. Which candidate has the best plan to help? Our special series, Where They Stand. And parents, lighten up. A new study says video games might actually be doing your children some good.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening. Katie will join us in a few moments from the campaign trail, but we begin with another nervous day in the financial markets. Today, the Fed showed some tough love by leaving a key interest rate unchanged, hoping the economy will ride out the storm without a rate cut. The Dow bounced back a bit, but nothing close to yesterday's 500-point sell-off. And all eyes are on AIG, the country's biggest insurance company. Can it survive? The latest on another wild day from Anthony Mason.
7.3 off it.
After frantic foreign markets tumbled, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke and other top economic advisors met with the president today, but the White House canceled plans for any comment. A day after the failure of Lehman Brothers and the fire sale of Merrill Lynch, attention turned to AIG, the latest financial giant in distress. A $1 trillion company, AIG is the largest insurer by assets in the country. But after its credit rating was downgraded overnight, AIG must raise at least $40 billion and fast.
So if they can't get this cash, they'll go bankrupt?
That's correct.
Sean Egan says AIG is threatened by bad loans and a crisis of confidence.
Trust is so important with these securities that are being handled by the major financial institutions, and that's gone right now.
In less than a year, AIG's stock price has crumbled from more than $70 to less than $4.
Going down, down, down.
Money manager Michael Lewitz says the insurance giant can't be allowed to go under.
I think it's as serious a situation as this country has faced since the Great Depression.
Because AIG does business with every major financial institution and in 130 countries. When a bank makes a loan to another bank or company, AIG insures those loans. If it goes bankrupt, banks will be forced to come up with capital or call in the loans. Behind closed doors at the Fed's New York office, the government has been trying to work out a rescue plan. But whatever happens, veteran traders say the financial system has been changed forever.
Credit will again never be the same as it was 1 and 2 years ago. Mortgages will be different. The availability of money will be based on your ability to pay. We're going back to the 1970s. In a way, it's no bad thing.
The Fed reportedly is considering offering some form of financial help to AIG, which otherwise could be forced to declare bankruptcy as early as tomorrow. Harry?
Anthony, what if I have, for instance, a life insurance policy with AIG? Should I be worried tonight?
The answer simply is no, you shouldn't be. The funds for those policies are kept separate. They're segregated and protected by law. So your policy, whatever the amount, is secure. If, however, AIG does go under, your policy could be transferred to another insurance carrier.
Anthony Mason, as always, thanks so much. All of this drama has transformed the presidential campaign, with the candidates engaging in a long-distance debate about how to fix the economy. Katie Couric is with the Obama campaign in Golden, Colorado tonight.
Thanks a lot, Harry. You know, back in 1992, James Carville famously posted that sign in the Clinton campaign war room that said, among other things, "It's the economy, stupid." 16 years later, once again, the economy is front and center in this presidential campaign. Today, Senator John McCain suggested a special panel like the 9/11 Commission should be set up to prevent financial institutions from imploding in the future. But here in Colorado, Senator Barack Obama dismissed the idea and accused his opponent of passing the buck.
We're going to put an end to the reckless conduct, corruption, and unbridled greed that have caused a crisis on Wall Street. We're going to put a stop to it. And I can assure you that if I'm president, we're not going to tolerate that anymore.
Senator McCain's approach was the same as the Bush administration's. Support ideological policies that made the crisis more likely, do nothing as the crisis hits, and then scramble as the whole thing unravels. His outrage at Wall Street would be more convincing if he wasn't offering them more tax cuts.
Following the speech, I sat down with Senator Obama and asked him what steps he would take as president that would have an immediate impact on this crisis.
We have to overhaul our regulatory system. It is not working, and that's part of the reason that the market lacks confidence, is because it doesn't know where the ratings agencies properly measuring the risk that were involved in these investments that were made. Are the books transparent? Has the SEC and other agencies, have they been looking at them? We've got to have complete transparency and openness in how our financial markets are working to restore trust. But what is really going to make the biggest difference on Wall Street right now is not only increased transparency, but also a strengthening of the housing market. I think that involves providing more assistance to both borrowers and lenders to get a fixed mortgage that the homeowner can pay.
Would we be able to see the benefits of those kinds of measures pretty immediately, or would this take a long time to see the benefits?
Well, the regulatory overhaul, frankly, it's going to be hard to do that in the next 2 months. We've got to wait till a presidential election, a new Congress. But I think that it's something that we can get done early next year. And if we can just stabilize things and ride out some tough few months and then overhaul the regulatory system, our tax code, and start investing in things like clean energy, then I'm confident that we can get the economy back on track by next year.
By the way, tomorrow night will be the inauguration of our special series, Presidential Questions, in which both Senator Obama and Senator McCain answer the same set of questions about their personal experiences and vision for the future. Hopefully, it will enable voters to get to know both men a little bit better. Now back to Harry in New York.
All right, Katie, thanks. 3 days after Hurricane Ike slammed into the Texas coast, we are just now seeing some of the hardest hit areas, like Boulevard Peninsula, just up the coast from Galveston. This is what it looked like before Ike. This is what it looks like now, wiped out by the storm's surge. Mark Strassman reports.
Thomas Peavy was getting his first look at ruin. His shrimping boat underwater and in splinters.
Was this the only boat you had?
Yeah. 15 miles offshore in Galveston Bay, Ike shredded this resort peninsula. Beach homes look like Stonehenge. Bob Campbell, his head spinning after losing his home and his business.
Give me a sense of it. How bad is it?
It's catastrophic.
Some residents actually rode out the storm. A couple said a rescue helicopter that was promised never came. For 3 days, they lived like scavengers, eating uncooked hot dogs and leftover pizza. Late yesterday, rescuers finally removed 60 shell-shocked survivors. No one's sure who's still missing.
Everybody knows everybody, so we're worried about a lot of people.
In Ike's wake, more than 2 million victims still need power, water, and food. This line was 2 miles long to buy diesel to power generators. The wait was 6 hours.
It's a tough situation.
President Bush toured Houston and Galveston, where leaders described a growing health crisis for people still living there. Ike's victims have a wish list for the president.
I think the first priority needs to, be electricity getting put back up down there.
All of Galveston, for instance, is still without power. Today, the island started letting residents back in, not to stay, just to have a quick look at their homes. The line of cars to get in was 10 miles long. Harry?
Mark Strassman live in La Marque, Texas tonight. Thanks. In health news, you may be confused by some of the news you've been hearing about a chemical found in bottles and cans. Bisphenol A, or BPA. Is it safe? Is it dangerous? More than 90% of us have traces of it in our systems. And today, the first major study linked BPA to heart disease and diabetes. As Dr. John LaPook reports, some experts are worried.
This is a very big deal.
For years, Dr. Philip Landrigan has examined data on BPA, how much of it leaches out of plastics and cans, and whether it's toxic. He thinks a study released today tips the debate.
This is the first study to show a correlation with 2 important chronic illnesses.
BPA was measured in more than 1,400 adults. Those with the highest levels had more than twice the risk of heart disease and diabetes, even at amounts of BPA the government deems safe. Today, the FDA heard this new evidence, while maintaining for now it has no plans to ban BPA.
The continued use of bisphenol A in the manufacture of food contact substance is concluded to be safe.
Still, the market for BPA-free products is growing. A few U.S. states have proposed restrictions. These mothers aren't waiting for more definitive research.
But Elena, what if you're not positive that BPA causes a problem?
But if there is a possibility that it does, why not try to erase that from the household?
If you do want to limit BPA intake, avoid plastic containers with the number 7 on the bottom, or at least don't microwave them. Cut down on cans and consider using stainless steel or glass containers.
Dr. John LaPoop, thanks. There's more CBS News ahead. Next, millions of Americans are about to lose their homes because they can't pay their mortgages. Where do the candidates stand on helping them out? We'll find out. When the housing bubble burst last year, millions found themselves stuck with mortgages they can't afford on homes worth a lot less than they paid for them. Last month alone, foreclosures shot up by 12% to nearly 304,000. That's a record. So where do the presidential candidates stand on the housing crisis? Here's Ben Tracy.
In this city built on taking risks, there are far too many signs of a housing market gone bust. Just ask Adriana Camejo.
Yes, I do need help badly.
And Deanne O'Rear.
And I honestly never would have expected this, never.
Both are about to lose their homes in middle-class neighborhoods in Las Vegas, one of the hardest-hit cities in the nation. In fact, 1 in every 35 households in the metro area received a foreclosure notice earlier this year. That's nearly 22,000 homes. Adriana bought her home 2 years ago, a place for her son Joseph to grow up. She applied for a no-money-down subprime loan and says the lender told her she had a 6% interest rate. It turned out to be 11%. Do you feel like they took advantage of you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I didn't have any prior education, to buying the house.
As the loan payments grew, Adriana worked in a casino kitchen until 3 in the morning to make extra money. But when her husband was laid off, they fell behind and are now facing foreclosure. What is this like every day to deal with this?
Tough, because my son tells me every day that he doesn't want to lose the house, that he loves his house and he doesn't want to move.
Across town, Deanne O'Rear's foreclosure notice,
this is the letter that was taped to the door,
was especially embarrassing. She gives mortgage advice to home buyers.
Still to this day, it's embarrassing. It's hard to believe that I'm even talking to you right now.
When the housing market tanked, so did Deanne's commissions as a mortgage consultant. She couldn't keep up with payments on this home she bought 10 years ago, so she declared bankruptcy, tried to work out a deal with her lender. She got the runaround.
I know where to go, I know who to go to, I know all of the entities, and still could not get anything done.
A record 4 million Americans are now either behind on their mortgage payments or facing foreclosure. With home values dropping, many are wondering where the presidential hopefuls stand on the housing crisis. With the mortgage mess taking down some of the biggest names on Wall Street, the candidates say help for homeowners is on the way. Senators McCain and Obama both support a new federal housing program beginning in October, which could help as many as 400,000 families. It encourages lenders to swap their customers' risky home loans for new 30-year fixed-rate mortgages, backed by the government.
This will not be a windfall for borrowers. They're going to have to share any capital gains as the housing market stabilizes and their property values start going up again.
And that's something else both candidates agree on. No help for speculators or risk takers.
It's not the responsibility of the American public to spare them from the consequences of their own bad judgment.
Overall, McCain favors less government intervention. He does support bolstering community groups that provide mortgage assistance. He also wants a specific government task force to investigate fraud in the mortgage lending industry.
If there were individuals or firms that defrauded innocent homeowners, they must answer for their conduct in a court of law.
While Senator McCain supports the recent government takeover of mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, he says he wants to downsize and eventually privatize them.
More oversight, more transparency, more of everything, and frankly, a dramatic reduction in what they do.
Senator Obama also supports the bailout and calls for more regulation.
If you expect the federal government to step in and to provide support if something goes wrong, then you're going to have to follow by our rules.
The rest of Obama's at least $10 billion housing plan calls for a larger government role than McCain's plan. He wants low-income homeowners to get a 10% mortgage tax credit, new criminal penalties for those convicted of fraud, a mortgage rating system to educate home buyers about their mortgage options, and the creation of a foreclosure prevention fund.
If the government can bail out investment banks on Wall Street, then we can extend a hand to folks who are struggling on Main Street.
Obama also wants to change bankruptcy laws to allow judges to modify a homeowner's mortgage payments.
So I imagine you have a lot of memories here then.
Absolutely.
Obama's plan may have helped Deanne O'Rear. She declared Chapter 13, but soon found out it wouldn't save her house.
How big of a difference would it make for you if the bankruptcy courts could help refinance the terms of your mortgage?
It would have made all the difference in the world. Get down.
Adriana Camejo would likely qualify for the new federal program supported by both candidates, converting her high-interest and risky adjustable-rate mortgage into a stable 30-year loan.
What would you think about a plan like that?
Oh, that'd be great. As long as the payments doesn't go up, you know, I think that would help.
Yet Adriana knows this is not just a government problem. She says home buyers need to do their homework.
Get informed first and make sure you read everything that you're going to sign.
Because you don't have to live in Vegas to know that owning a home these days is no longer a sure bet. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Las Vegas.
Our series continues on Thursday with the ever-present threat, where they stand on combating Islamic terrorism. We'll be back with more news in a moment. A change of command in Iraq. Today, General David Petraeus formally handed over control of U.S. and coalition forces in the country to his former number 2, General Ray Odierno. Next month, Petraeus takes over as head of U.S. Central Command, which oversees all military action in the Middle East. The commander of NATO-led forces in Afghanistan said today he doesn't have enough combat troops to battle a resurgent Taliban. U.S. General David McKiernan will get an additional combat brigade in January. That's about 3,700 troops, but he says he needs 3 more brigades on top of that. And this update on a young man we first introduced you to in June. He is now a gold medalist. Josh George was paralyzed from the waist down at the age of 4. Today, the Illinois athlete power rolled his way to win the men's 100-meter race at the Beijing Paralympics. He took silver yesterday in the 800-meter race. Next, hide the children. You may not be ready for the news about kids and video games. This is for all those parents who battle their kids over video games. A study out today says gaming may actually be good for them. Daniel Seberg reports on the games our children play.
Whoa, Blim. Oh, wow. That's what I'm talking about.
A story about video games means going to the experts. Are video games cool?
There are many definitions of cool.
But here's what is cool for parents. A new study finds that all that time in front of a screen isn't such a bad thing.
I think we have this image that people who play games are playing them alone in a dark basement. And in fact, what we found is that the majority of teens play games with other people most of the time.
Today's study of 1,102 teens tells us that almost all teens play video games. The kids often play with someone else, and that the 3 most popular types of games are not violent. They involve racing, puzzles, and sports.
Super Monkey Ball, which we played, which is really fun. It's like the little monkeys and little balls, and they just like roll. It's a racing. But there's also, I like it. Yeah.
Kids are talking with each other, helping each other, sharing knowledge together. It's really peer-based kind of learning that's going on.
That's because playing games often involves problem solving, achieving goals, or overcoming obstacles, skills that educators applaud.
There's a real promise here to harness the enthusiasm of young people for games and to use that to help them learn things more effectively in the classroom.
So parents, relax. You may not get it or like it, but your kids are learning more than how to just smash dinosaurs.
Oh my God! Another dinosaur.
Daniel Seberg, CBS News, New York.
And that's the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Harry Smith. Katie will be back tomorrow. I'll see you on The Early Show.